In this video, I'll be talking about how can you get more innovative in your workplace. If you're dealing with challenges of micromanagement, you're dealing with challenges of very rigid hierarchy in the workplace and excessive rules in the workplace, so what can or cannot be done, what idea can or cannot be surfaced, or how do you surface the idea to your bosses and things like that. And also, if you are dealing with a work culture that lacks employee engagement, so the work culture tends to be very rigid. So instead of fostering autonomy, creativity, and ownership of ideas, it tends to be opposite. It tends to be very, very slow in allowing people to make decisions. That's when I think this video that is based on this book, Netflix No Rules Rules, might be a bit helpful. How do you promote a culture of freedom and responsibility? And it focuses on the unconventional management philosophy and the company culture at Netflix. How do you emphasize freedom and responsibility? I'll go straight into the Netflix innovation cycle. What is it about Netflix innovation cycle that is so appealing and so there's so much value in it? The first one is that ask what learning came from the project. So basically, in Netflix itself, people get to propose ideas, and inside this book, it said that once or twice a year at their product meetings, their top management asks all their managers to complete a simple form outlining their bets from the last few years, and this is dividing them into three categories of bets that went well, bets that didn't go so well, and open bets. So these bets are referring to projects they've taken on that they believed that would have helped the bottom line of Netflix. And then what they do is they break out into smaller groups and discuss the items in each category and what have they learned from each bet. Basically each project they've undertaken. So basically, it means that whenever you have asked yourself what learning came from the project, you are essentially focusing on learning. You are highlighting what is the things that causes your success and your failures for these projects. And when you share your success and failures of these projects, it becomes a very learning opportunity, a very valuable learning opportunity for the entire organization. So that's when different teams get to realize, okay, I know what this person or that person done, what worked or didn't work. How do I avoid the pitfalls and mistakes that they are made, or how do I avoid the challenges that they went through, and how do I double down on the success that they come across? And I think it's such an important practice when you talk about what is the things that did well or didn't do well, is because you're creating a culture where if you want to innovate, chances are you're going to make some sort of mistakes along the line, or certain things that you do didn't live up to what you expected it to give you or the company. And the moment you're open to discuss them and learn from, see, quote unquote, past failures, that's when you are able to get better along the line and use this as data to improve like what can or cannot be done in the future. Not only that, when you discuss it in the group itself, you're saying that, our so-called individual failures or things that didn't go so well, it is actually contributing to organizational growth and success. And chances are, I feel that when companies always ask their employees to give feedback or ideas, right? Sometimes when employees don't want to give feedback ideas is because, or if you said something your bosses didn't agree on, or you said something your colleagues didn't think was a great idea, no one wants to put themselves in the firing line to be scrutinized that way. But when you open a culture that is open and the culture is about analyzing what went well and what didn't go so well, that's when you get the best outcome, where people are less afraid to make suggestions, but at the same time their suggestions that they propose to you are well thought out, because they have taken into consideration the past data out of everybody's shared experience of projects or things that they've done. So basically, what you're trying to do is you're not trying to aim for perfection, but you're trying to aim for a culture that everybody takes learnings into consideration when it comes to proposing ideas and suggestions that will help the company's goal. The second step of the Netflix innovation culture that's great is about is don't make a big deal about it. What do I mean by this is when a project or a suggestion doesn't work out, the manager must be careful to express interest in the takeaways but no condemnation. The manager is kind of responsible to say that what can we take away from this experience, but I'm not going to condemn you if you screwed up. If you did all that you tried to do to salvage it, I'm not going to condemn you if you screwed up. Instead, you get focused on your learning, and the reason why is that, why in the first place did idea not work out? This is also to get people to be very analytical about the ideas instead of being bogged by emotion and say that, I feel so bad this didn't work out. My name is on the line because I signed off on this and it didn't work out. So I think it's when you do things like that is when people get out of the blaming cycle and they get into how can we learn better from this situation. Whenever anybody comes up with an idea or solution, it's always a risk. And when you want to get innovative and want to be different, sometimes taking risks is important because you never get that if you don't do something different from the market, right? Having this point, which is don't make a big deal about it, mean to say that if someone has taken appropriate assessment of risk, done all they could to make sure this project goes live and does well, I think it's also important that they do not have the fear that if I fail, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to get cut off from my job. And I think it's such an important lesson. And also something I came across working previously with some bosses is that they always ask if they know you're diligent and you're responsible and you're meticulous, but for some reason what you did failed, and chances are was I came across this where they sort of asked like, okay, why didn't it work? They wouldn't dare to scold me if I made a mistake, but rather they were quite interested as to do I understand why the mistake happened? And is there a way for me to prevent the mistake from happening in the future? And also I believe is that when you believe in your employees, their values of their responsibility, accountability, and their work ethic, that's when you are actually training them to be more critical in their thinking. It's not a I guess it's different. This case of not scolding employees when they make mistakes is different from when they actually have not done what they're supposed to do. In the end, they made a mistake. So I think it's a different variation between these two scenarios. Doing that cycle, I think, reinforces the team that they can get better over time if they learn to analyze what went wrong. And at the same time, I think that's when a manager is also able to step in and give their own input as to what they see from their point of view, the overview point of view, the overview of somebody that is taking a look at things and not too overly emotionally invested in the solution, compared to the person that actually proposed the solution, but they're able to see things more critically. So in that case, that they can then share the way they view outcomes, the way they analyze outcomes, and the way also they do the troubleshooting. So for me, it's about building the bond between the team when no one blames anyone for the outcome. If everybody has really tried very hard to work towards it, but instead that we are now heavily invested as a team to make sure things work and to take the learnings if it doesn't. So the third point, that asks them to sunshine their failure. So basically means that if you make a bet with a project or a solution or idea and it fails, it's important to speak openly and frequently about what happened. And if you are the boss, make it clear that you expect all failed bad solutions ideas to be detailed out and open. And the reason why you do this is because if you have a culture of innovation, partly going to take a lot of risks. And with the risk, sometimes these ideas or solution doesn't pan out the way you want them to. But if you want to train your people to take more risks, more calculated risks, propose more better solutions or more better ideas, is that you must create a culture where it's safe, psychologically safe, and emotionally safe for them to do so. So basically, at Netflix, how they create a culture that's psychologically and emotionally safe for people to be brave when it comes to proposing ideas and solutions and even projects is to get the employees to write down open memos explaining candidly what happened, followed by a description of the lesson learned. And the reason why you do so is that when you sunshine your failed ideas, solutions, or even projects, everybody wins. And how you win is that people learn they can trust you to tell the truth and take responsibility for your actions because you were the one that actually wrote the memo. And the team wins because they learn the lessons that came out from the project together. And the company wins because everybody sees clearly that failed ideas, solutions, or even projects are part of the innovative success wheel. And I think this is such a strong messaging I've come across because whenever we want people to give the best outcomes or the best ideas or the best solutions in the workplace, right? A part of us tends to forget sometimes is that to get to this level of culture, it takes time and experience and examples of how we have demonstrated why we want a lot of ideas and solutions to come out. And what are we truly valuing here? Are we valuing success only, or are we valuing the contribution of solid, well thought out ideas and ideas, projects, and innovation, ideas, solutions, and innovation? And for someone to come up with well thought out ideas, solutions, and projects, right? That could mean that they have tried a lot of things. Some didn't work, some worked, and that's how they can refine their generation of ideas and solutions. And personally, I feel that sometimes in the workplace there's this desire to their thinking, their critical thinking, their idea generation, their creativity. But I feel sometimes why people are hesitant to do so is because they know that, if I produce a great idea, that's fantastic. Everybody can celebrate their success. But if I screw up, if I propose something that doesn't work or whatever, right, then the responsibilities on me, it's probably on my manager, it's probably on my head of department, and doesn't make any of us look good. So why would I propose something that I've not figured out yet, the chances of successes? And then when the risks are so high, it might cost me my job, it might cost me loss of reputation, it might cost my team the loss of reputation. Why would I go? Why would I ever want to go and like make these suggestions for? So I think that's why when Netflix documented their innovation cycle culture and how they go around doing it, that's what struck to me as something so critically important and something so brave. And because it's basically training people, like, failure isn't the end of everything, but you must make calculated decisions. You must take into account of calculated risks as well before you make a decision, before you even propose an idea solution or even a project. You have to do your due diligence, do all you can to make sure that success is stacked on your side before you then propose a solution or idea per se. And part and parcel of this is, I feel sometimes workplace is also a place where you try to unwind your fear of failure that has been perhaps indoctrinated through different people's like their life, whether they came across the fear of failure through their school, whether they came across the fear of failure through their parents telling them they can't make mistakes, or they come from other workplaces that, where failure is punished so severely that they rather not, promote anything new, rather being punished for failure. So that's when I believe that companies have that ability to actually create culture and to indoctrinate people with a good culture that they can then take to wherever they go next in their workplace or even their personal life. And that's when I think it's so important sometimes when I come across these takeaways from books. It's important to actually just share it with the world.